Mm.
But anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. This is another one of our festive, I was going to say festive follies. It pretty much is at this stage. We're off to a good Monty Python start on this one. Uh, at the moment,
Nope,
we
Denise,
are
you're
joined
frozen.
again by. Oh,
Denise, you're
am I
frozen.
back?
You're
Yeah,
back
you're
now,
back
but you
now.
did freeze. This is going so well.
I know. I know. Jesus. The gremlins. It's the elf on the shelf.
Try that again.
Which part?
All of it.
Oh, Christ.
Hello. It's one of our wonderful recordings that is like a live show. It's great.
Well, what we need to do is we need to save all these up, and at the end of the year, just release them all as
This will be
like
the
a
blooper reel at the end of this one. Absolutely.
And action.
I'm going to yawn again. Hi, everybody, and welcome to our festive shows. This is another one of our webinars in the run up to Christmas. This time we are joined by, well, not this time, but again, we are joined by Vice Chair Mark Bridger Pascott from Director of Boncanis, and we are joined by special guest Freya Locke. Freya is part of the Fun Not Fear movement.
Mhm.
Freya also has a new book out. She is the director of the DWA, which is the Dog Welfare Alliance, and is a patron of ICANN at the moment?
Yes, on Patreon, yes.
Patron of ICANN. So Freya has loads of other things under her belt as well that would take me all night to go through. So I will actually pass you over to Freya so she can do a quick introduction. She's qualified, a certified trainer and behaviourist with the Association of Into Dogs. We're absolutely delighted to have her join us tonight to talk about her new book. So welcome, Freya.
Hi, how you doing?
Go on, keep talking.
Right, well, we keep going. Okay, right. So yeah, I'm Freya. I've been a behaviourist and trainer now since 2017. I did all my initial training with the ISCP, and I've done so many courses and things since. I'm currently doing a level 6 with Canine Principles for Advanced Behaviour, so that'd be my second advanced behaviour course. Yeah, I have Locks Dogs Behaviourist and Trainer, which is my one-to-one business, where we go out and we see, people in their own homes, and we train dogs, but we specialise in anxious dogs. So, and also anxious people as well, because we often find that the two things are quite linked together. So we try and make all our teaching as easy and accessible as possible. And that was kind of the point of the book, actually, as well. The whole Fun Not Fear Club is literally about taking the fear out of things and making things fun so that we can do things. It's kind of the opposite of feeling the fear and doing it anyway. We take out the fear and then we do it. So the whole Fun Not Fear thing is kind of it's trying to explain behavior to people that don't have degree level qualifications in behavior, but want to understand what's going on with their dog and how to help them. So I
So
mean,
this book is more for the general population.
yes, it's not necessarily for trainers and behaviourists, although I'd be really grateful if you wanted to read it. But
Oh, I already
yeah.
have.
But yeah, so it's really for owners and for caregivers and for guardians and for dog parents. And we say dog parents, but I mean everybody has a different word for it. But yeah, it's really for people who want to understand their dogs a little bit more and want to help their dogs, but don't necessarily have access to all the higher learning that we do. Is trying to make it nice and easy for people. And also the thing that I find is that with a lot of anxious people, if you give them stuff that's too lofty, it's not that they can't do it, but it takes them a little bit longer because they can't necessarily process as quickly as somebody who's not that anxious, you see. So if you give them things in sort of bite-sized chunks and break it down for them, then that actually gives them the confidence to go on and help their own dogs with various things anyway. And what we often seem to find is once they get a taste for it, then they really start looking into things, and then that's when I'll start getting asked questions about more in-depth stuff in the club and things like that. And the club is just something that we originally set up during the COVID lockdowns, and we created a whole school basically online about with different things about there's training manuals, there's things about I put a nutrition course in there the other day, there's all sorts of different things in there for my clients. But we run it.
How do people access that? Do they have to be one of your clients, or can they join and then
So
become one of your
the
clients?
clients, like, we give that to them for free, but there's also a subscription group, so they can go to www.funnotfear.co.uk and join up there, and it's £8 a month. So with the cost of living and everything going on at the moment, I thought there's a lot of people who just can't afford behaviourists, but they've all
Yeah.
got these dogs that they can't necessarily haven't been socialized because of the lockdowns and things like that. And these dogs are all like 2 now. So we all know what 2-year-old dogs can be like. So, they're so excitable and they're all adolescents and bouncing off the walls. And, but people haven't necessarily got the money to pay for behaviorists. So that's why one of the reasons we opened up the club is to make it more accessible for everybody, but also for people who are that little bit anxious. It's something they can do from home. It's something they can look at, and it's also it helps the dogs as well, because the dogs, it can be quite scary for them having a new trainer going into the house. So if they can get their dog parents like training them before we've even got there, then it just makes the whole process so much smoother. And the book is kind of an extension of that. It's just teaching behavioral concepts and ideas behind what you can do for certain things, like if your dog's scared of this or if your dog is triggered by that. There's a whole section at the back about various different things you can do to help your dog with those things, and then it just all kind of ties in together quite nicely, really. So yeah.
Where can people buy it?
Yeah.
Where can people buy it?
Oh, it's on Amazon. It's you can get hardback, paperback, and Kindle on Amazon, and it's also on. If you pay the Amazon Prime thing once a month, you can get a credit to download a book. It's on that as well. So yeah, I mean, is it Amazon Unlimited or Kindle Unlimited or something like that? But it's on there as well, so people can read it for free if they want to as well. So.
Oh, okay. So if they just go onto Amazon and type in your name or Fun Not Fear, or what should they type?
Yeah, if you look up Fun Not Fear, it'll be there somewhere. Okay.
Wonderful.
Brilliant. And this is your first book, and I'm just looking through the contents, and I printed off the contents so that I had a reference here for this, and it was like 4 pages long. And I thought, how did you fit so much into the book? It's so comprehensive. But yet, after reading it, everything just flows. It's such an easy book to read and absorb. It's actually a fun book to read, as
I
opposed
tried
to a
to
hard
make it
slog.
quite funny in places as much as I possibly could, because again, I want people to actually enjoy reading it. I don't want people to have to use a dictionary while they're reading it. That's one of the things that puts me off, is if I'm trying to learn something, I need it broken down for me. And it's not that I can't get the concept behind it. It's just that if I'm stopping and looking to see what things mean the whole time, then it makes it so much harder for that learning to go in. And I think a lot of people actually struggle like that as well. So the easier and the more fun you make it. And also, I mean, they say that we shouldn't I can't say the word.
Anthropomorphize.
Yeah, that one. Right. We shouldn't do that, but I find that actually adding in stories about people and comparing them to how we would apply that to dogs actually makes things a lot easier. So
it does, because there is a time and a place for that. Like, obviously we wouldn't do it between ourselves, but if we're discussing with the client, it's so much easier for them to comprehend when they have this analogy to function from. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I use a lot of human examples throughout the book to illustrate what goes on with our dogs, and I think that people find that easier. So.
I
do love the chapter being the alpha. This is not near Nelly. So there is a lovely bit of fun and humor going through it. Yeah, you have the ladder of communication, you have body language. You even include at the very start where to look, where to go, where to look, like the behavior and training charter, the big list. It's linked with all the different associations and organizations, including Into Dogs, who was one of the founding bodies, thanks to Andrew Hale. So there's never an excuse for somebody to not know where to find a good trainer.
No, and if anyone doesn't know where to find one, just ask me. And I'll sort of, so many of us are online now as well that we can, if they can ask for where is a trainer online, then we can put them in touch with one on Zoom if they haven't got one in their local area. So there is no excuse now not to find a kind, ethical trainer.
Yeah. It's something a lot of people struggle with as well, because they just type in dog trainer, and if they don't know, they don't know.
No, that's
It's as
right.
simple
That's
as that.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things I love about Interdogs, though, is everybody in Interdogs is so passionate about pushing that message forward that it's hard to escape that message if you look up for dog training now, isn't it? So
Yeah. Yeah. Ethics in action.
Mhm.
Our little tagline. I love that tagline, actually. Just before I get into the book or into the chapters, you also run the Dog Welfare Alliance, the DWA. Can you just briefly
Yeah.
tell people about that in case anybody would like to sign up to it?
Okay, so the Dog Welfare Alliance is anyone can join it. It's £5 a year for non-doggy professionals, so just like any member of the public, and it's £10 a year for professional members. So that would be dog walkers, trainers, behaviourists, groomers, anybody who's professionally working with dogs in some way. And we it's that what we do with that is it's not necessarily a certifying body, although you do get a certificate to say you're a member, to say that you've taken a declaration of your intent to use force-free methods in your handling of dogs. And when we're processing the applications, we check through people's links, we check through anything and everything basically we can to make sure that they follow force-free ethics. And if they don't, then we point out what things they can change and what they can do in order to get certified by the DWA as somebody who's taken that declaration. And then the members that we pass, they get put onto our website, onto the database, so that anybody can see them, anybody can look them up. They can look, they can have their logos and things like that. They can display their certificate if they want to. And it just means that they have a way of showing that they've been externally checked to show that they are promoting a force-free environment for the dogs in their care. And at the same time, what we do then with the donations is, first of all, obviously we have to pay for the website and stuff like that. But once that's out of the way, we then donate to different charities that promote force-free methods as well. So it might be rescues that only use force-free, or well, anyone really that's in need. Sometimes we have dogs that pop up. Like recently, we had a dog who had a problem with his nose, so he needed Boas surgery. It was a brachycephalic dog, so we donated some to him because so little things like that helps. And it's if any of our members have suggestions, say like Dawn Pennell, for example, once she asked about Rotty Rescue, her friends having a donation, so we donated some to them. And we do, we try to take into, I think actually, Mark, you might have had one for German Shepherds before, or was it Alsatians? But we tend to give donations out to places that our members, yeah, that our members. But yeah, we try and get our members involved in where we give the donations out to, so that they feel part of it rather than it just sort of disappearing into the void. And yeah, so that's basically what that is. It was started by Lisa Tenzin Dolmar way back, I think it was 2013, and she gifted it to me when I was doing some work for the ISCP. While I was doing my studies and stuff there, I was helping her run it at the same time, and she gifted it to me to carry it on after she retired from the dog world. So that's what I've been doing with that since then. We have all sorts of
that's open to everybody, and
yeah.
you do give out newsletters on a regular basis.
I
as
do,
well, to keep people updated.
I've actually slipped a little bit, I must admit, recently, because obviously about my dad having Parkinson's and all sorts of different things have been going on. So yeah, I need to get back on with that really. But yeah, I do try and do out newsletters and things whenever we've done donations and that sort of thing, for sure. But,
right, well, we'll pop all the links up for that under the chat when it goes up, along with the link to your book. So let's get back to the book. One of your chapters is being considerate to your dog in daily life. That is so important, and it's something that sometimes gets overlooked.
Absolutely.
By people. So do you want to kind of just briefly go through that chapter with us, or tell us a bit about it?
Well, I think for the most part, it is what it is. We invite these animals into our home, and they have to sort of fit into our world. and they don't necessarily have the tools and the understanding in order to be able to do that. And I think sometimes people expect a little bit too much from their dogs. So we need to consider each dog as an individual as they come into our home. We need to consider what they need. We need to consider what they like and what they don't like, for example. We need to make sure things like the 5 freedoms are being observed. And really, it's just about making sure that things are right for them so that they can be appropriate in their behavior with us. Because if we're making things difficult for them without realizing half the time, then how is their behavior ever going to be appropriate in a human world? You know, if they're living under stress and living under like lots of things that they shouldn't be, if they're not getting enough sleep and that kind of thing, you know, if they're living in that kind of environment, then they're not going to blossom, you know. So we need to make sure that they have everything they need. They need to be comfortable, they need to be well rested. They, you know, so we need to make sure all 5 freedoms and things like that are all observed. And we need to make sure that we design our worlds to fit around them as much as they have to fit around us. So
that's a great point to make as well with that, when you said about appropriate behavior in the human world. Is that we often forget that completely.
Yeah.
So that the dog is behaving appropriately as far as the dog's concerned. The fact that we don't like that is an us problem, really, rather than a dog problem.
Absolutely, it is, for sure. And you know, if there's things that we don't necessarily like them doing, we have to examine why they're doing it. You know, what is it? What purpose is it serving? How's it making them feel better? You know, the dogs don't do things for no reason. So in order for us to coexist happily and peacefully and, you know, have the best relationship with them, we need to consider them, and we need to consider what goes on in their days. We need to consider what goes on in, you know, in what we feed them, what exercise, what enrichment they're getting, you know, whether they're getting enough sleep. We need to make sure that they are having everything they need in order for us to be able to even think about getting the things that we would like from them. You know, does that make sense?
Absolutely. Which actually brings us on to routines, because you often hear dogs, the old myth, dogs are a creature of habit, they need set routines. You're saying no, they don't. And you explain it really, really well in the book as to why you're saying this. So I think this part is very important.
So anxious dogs, they thrive on routines. They know exactly what's coming and when, and if, you know, if you can stick to those routines, then that does help those dogs a little bit. If they know what's coming when, and they know they're going to get fed, and then after that they're going to get their walk, and then after that they're going to get played with, and then after that it's going to be chew time, and then after that it's going to be bedtime. They can work out things going on in their day, and that gives them that little confidence boost to keep going. Okay, but what happens on the day when you get up late? Or the day when, you know, you feel sick and you don't take them for a walk? I think you've frozen, Denise, a little bit. But well, yeah, what happens on the days when you can't stick to the routine? What about Christmas? Or what about holidays and things like that? Suddenly you've got this dog who's completely out of their routine, and if they've already got anxious problems, then that's just going to make things worse. So unless you can actually guarantee they're going to stick to that routine every day forevermore, it's better just not to have one at all. And I make a point from the start of having my dogs of doing different things with them every day, being different places, feeding them at different times. It might be breakfast and dinner, but breakfast might be 8 o'clock in the morning. It might be 11 o'clock in the morning. You know, it might be raw for dinner. It might be something cooked for dinner. It might be, you know, they get all sorts of different things all the time. We get walks at different times. We go to different places. They go for car rides. They go to different places in the car. Some nights we're at Peter's house like we are tonight. Some nights we're at home. And I find that if Twyla doesn't actually expect something to be happening, and the same with a lot of other dogs, if they don't expect something to be happening next the whole time, then they don't worry about it when it isn't. And then when you are doing things like Christmas or holidays or that kind of thing, the dogs tend to cope with it better because they're not lost as to what's going to happen next. They just tend to go along with things. They're much more easygoing. They can cope. So when it comes to dogs that are really anxious and that are already in routines, what I suggest to people is to start changing their routines very slightly, starting with one thing at a time. So maybe on their walk, take them down a different street at the end of the walk before they're finished, perhaps. Or maybe park somewhere different when you take them out in the car to certain places. Or if they got, you know, something different for their breakfast, sprinkle something different on the top, maybe have it 10 minutes later or 10 minutes earlier. Just start changing things up really gradually to start with, to the point where then you can start, you know, shuffling parts of their day around a little bit more, and then they don't become so reliant on routines. And then when the routines are not there, it doesn't become another source of stress. So yeah, routines is something I actually try to avoid where possible. I mean, there's some things you can't avoid, like we all have to go to bed at night, you know, so you might as well give them a chew before they get in bed. But it doesn't necessarily have to be the same chew every night. You know, there's different things, you know, they might sometimes get biscuits instead, for example. Twyla, she has the dentist sticks and stuff like that. Not the dentist sticks, but the parsley and mint ones that you can get that are quite nice. Well, I think they're probably quite nice. She doesn't, I'm not sure if you think so, but she gets them. But then other days she might get, you know, a Yakaba, or she might get a bit of a horn or something like that. So, you know, we try, even the things like that, I mix up a little bit, because otherwise, if she's expecting the same thing every night and she doesn't get it, then she's gonna be like, oh, where's that gone then? You know, and then sometimes having routines actually causes more problems than it solves. So yeah, that is something I actually avoid if possible.
But you must get the question then from people that, I mean, it's quite easy to not have a routine for the likes of us self-employed. You know, each day's different, but the person that does the 9 to 5 stuff, it's very difficult for them to change the routine, because they've got to be out the door at a certain time. And I've had them before where you do cheekily kind of go, well, get up a bit earlier, and they go, you're kidding me, right? I'm already tired as it is. So what can they do to mix up the routine a little?
They don't have to walk every morning. They could walk some mornings and not others. They could give the dog their breakfast before they have their cup of tea, and then other times they can have it afterwards. You know, before their morning shower, after their morning shower. They can mix up what they actually do in what order before they actually end up going to work. Like I say, there is some things that we can't help, some things that we must do in order, you know, to get through each day. So like, we have to get up, we have to brush our teeth, we have to go to the toilet, we have to go, you know, to work, we have to come home from work, we have to go to bed at night. There's lots of things that we can't change, but we can change what we do in and around those. And it might be during the day, perhaps as a dog walker come, but she doesn't come every day. You know, or it might be that sometimes you pop home for lunch and sometimes your partner does, or one of your children, or somebody pops in instead, you know. So
it doesn't need to be a massive great change. You can literally, like say, just literally before your tea, after your tea, before your toast, after your toast. We're talking minutes as opposed to massive great changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more of those that are going on in the dog's world, the less they're expecting things to happen in certain orders, because we all know dogs are brilliant at creating chains of events and going back chaining things as well as forward chaining things. And you know, even things like dogs that get nervous when you get in from work because if they don't particularly like going out for walks, that starts off the whole routine of you come in from work, you have a cup of tea, you put your shoes back on, you put on the lead, you go out for a walk. And if they don't particularly like going out for walks because they're worried about, I don't know, the dog at number 57, you know, then all of those things can start right back from when you finish work. So that dog's then going to be worrying about that whole time as well. So if you change things up a little bit, then they're not necessarily going to be sitting there worrying for that whole hour as well. So when you do actually go out for a walk, they haven't built up all those stress hormones. So like you say, and even just little changes make a massive difference overall to the dog's overall stress levels. So,
of course, not to expect an instant change in the dog's behaviour just because you've had a cup of tea and not that morning, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It wouldn't make an instant change, but over time it does tend to just lower stress levels a little bit if the dog's not pacing around 20 minutes before it's expecting something to happen, you know. So,
which happens a lot.
Frozen again.
And you see that with kind of separation distress cases as well. Where am I frozen again?
You were briefly.
Am I back?
You're back.
It's going to be a long night. You see it a lot with separation distress cases as well, where the dog has kind of picked up a cue from you from 20, 30 minutes before you've ever left the house, because you have your own little set routine that you have to do. So it's something that people should actually keep an eye on for themselves as well, not just the dog.
Absolutely, and that's 20 or 30 minutes of stress building up.
You have another section in your book about choice, and exactly, yeah, and it's little things that we don't notice, but sure, the dog.
No, you've gone again.
The dog is not better to do than to watch us 24/7, so they're going to notice it more than we would.
You keep freezing
this
a little
time of
bit.
night is really bad.
I think we've also got a bit of a delay with you, I think.
Yeah.
It's Brexit. It's holding me back.
All the way in Ireland. Terrible, isn't it? But you're quite right. I mean, my new little land shark here is notorious for... He's obviously got some separation issues at the moment because we're all he has. So at the moment, you can't go to the loo on your own. You can't do those kind of things. But, I know he'll get better and better and better the more he's here. He's frightened of the dark. So he won't go out for a wee and a poo at night time unless Bear goes with him. And if Bear's out there with him, he'll go to the toilet because he's got his bodyguard. But that I know will get better. So those little, like you say, those little changes that you do are going to help further down the line as well, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So have you frozen again, Denise? Have you put another 50p in a meter? Are you there?
I'll talk quickly. I'll talk really quickly. The other chapter I want to talk about is choice, giving your dog choice, because it's something that I've heard it like, why would you do that? Oh, you're spoiling the dog. No, you're not.
Gosh, no. I mean, if you imagine, right, when we take a dog into our home, they don't get to choose to come and live with us. We've just decided they're going to. We then decide where they're going to sleep. We decide who they're going to mate with, who they're going to be friends with, what they're going to eat, when they're going to eat it, where they can go to the toilet. We decide absolutely everything. And anything that comes naturally to that dog, it's almost like they've got to run it past us first. Right? Now, how frustrating is that? If we lived like that, that would be abuse. If we lived like that, whoever was making us live like that would be arrested, because these dogs, they're living creatures. They've got feelings, they've got emotions, they've got things they want, they've got things they need. And so taking all the agency out of their life is so frustrating for them. And if you can imagine us having to live like that, it would drive you potty. Right? So by giving them choices of things, and I don't mean like massive choices, I mean like, do you want this for dinner or that for dinner?
No, it's more of
you want to go left or right at the end of the road, things like that. Just giving them little bits of choices and it can be the choice of two things that you want them to pick. It can be, do you want your frisbee or your ball? Either way, they're going to get it thrown, so it doesn't make any difference to you, but at the same time, to the dog, they're going to get, they get the choice of what they want to do. And I think in doing that, it actually relieves some of the frustration that they feel in and around us, because we're not making them constantly do things all the time. If we can give them choices, then that translates into less stressed behavior, because the dogs themselves are not quite so frustrated in the first place. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, like in my house, we have dog beds in every room, 2 or 3 dog beds in every room, but they have a choice. It's a controlled choice, because I have decided the best place for those beds so that they're not too close to the heat. Am I freezing again?
You did. You had that rather embarrassing freeze of the odd looking face.
Oh, so what's new?
We'll keep that in.
Thanks. I love you too. But yeah, there is also that thing where we have to remember, especially when we're explaining to clients, that there is a thing called controlled choice, where we actually control. I give up. Go on.
Sadly, you don't control the internet, because that's it's not your friend this evening.
Clearly not.
Yeah, controlled choices. They can choose between 2 things you want them to do. It's a bit like with children. If you ask them what they want to drink, they'll say Coca-Cola. But if you ask them, do they want fruit juice or do they want fizzy water, then they're going to pick a healthier choice, and they're less likely to have a tantrum over it because they got to choose. And it's the same with the dogs. If you give them the choices of things that you actually want them to do, then that takes the frustration element out of it for them, but also they're still going along with what you want them to do in the first place, so it's win-win.
Yeah, it's one of the first things I look at. I mean, when I go and see a client, I think right. If you take away the whole consultation process of what you go through, like you said, diet and all that kind of stuff, what I'm looking for is the second I walk into that room or that door is the dog happy? What's that bond like between the person and the dog? Is there something missing in the very first instant? And I'll walk in sometimes and go, "Oh, your dogs are quite nervous." And people go, "Really? How can you tell?" And you kind of go, "Well, yeah, what we do." But at that point, you can make those observations very, very quickly and say to people, "Okay, well, all the stuff you've told me that's going on actually is a symptom. It's not really the root cause of what's going on." And that, in some cases, can really help a person to feel much, much better about what's been going on, because now it's not a case of changing a huge amounts of things, but like you say, it could be something really simple, like just give your dog a choice. Maybe a bit of the ACE-free work, for argument's sake, or even, I mean, the little land shark at the moment, he has dinner in 2 bowls. One's a slow feeder, one's an ordinary bowl, and he loves them both.
And just like with toddlers, it's amazing what the power of making them think that they thought of it themselves can do.
We all know people like that. I've worked with people before that if I started if I asked them to do something, they'd make a fuss. But if I start to ask them and then go, "Actually, no, it's too much to ask you," suddenly, "Oh, I'll do it, no problem." It was great, because they then think they're doing me a favor, but of course I get what I want anyway. It's great. Little tiny choices, little things like that are just fantastic for a dog. But like you say as well, even on walks, the amount of times we see people pulling their dog a certain way, and you just say to yourself, "Look, just go with him for a minute. Just have a little look. You haven't got to go far, but just see what's taking that dog's interest. You might find a new route for yourself. You might find something else to do."
Also, actually, sometimes with that helps with things like pulling and stuff like that as well. Because if you're just dragging your dog around, taking them to all the places you want to go and get around as quickly as possible, that dog might be pulling because they desperately want to sniff this smell that they go past every single day and never get a chance to. If they get a chance to go over and sniff the things and look at all the things, first of all, they get to slow down while they're sniffing, but secondly, they get it out of their system.
Yeah. I'm working with 2 GSPs at the moment, and we every Friday we go out and we go to the same place each time. But the first 5 minutes, it's like kids at a fun fair. I mean, we have a dog each, myself and the client, and we just get dragged left, right, and centre, and we just let them go for it, because after about 5 minutes, they kind of go, "Okay, I'm done now," and then we start walking nicely. But that's the moment. That first 5 minutes is where most people then get really frustrated, really annoyed, and probably more importantly, they get embarrassed.
Yeah,
that's the big thing with people, is the embarrassment, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think that's even worse when you're actually a dog trainer or behaviourist as well, because sometimes, I mean, Twyla, her pulling is just like, it's been out of this world. And people watch me walking down the road with her and wonder what I know if I'm doing, but like a lot of the time now, because I've let her calm down by herself, she will. But the thing is, like, leaves are her thing, right? She'll go after any leaf, she'll catch it, she'll spit it out. It's the most disgusting thing she's ever tasted, and then she's straight after the next one. And I've just learned, actually, just let her catch a couple, and then we're fine. If I were to spend the entire walk just going, no, can't do this, can't do that, then that's all she wants to do. But now I just let her get it out of her system. It's all good.
And do you find that people make they spring too quickly to make a big deal of something?
Yeah,
and they can make it more of an issue instantly by going, "Oh, no, stop it."
Yeah,
You just got to be
then you're
quiet.
fighting the tide then, aren't you? If you just go with it, then everything seems to work out a lot of the time then.
It is difficult sometimes, though, isn't it? I mean, if I was with a client with her German Shepherd, and this dog had sniffed about 4 or 5 piles of poo when she wasn't looking, and then she saw the next pile of poo, and then saw her dog sniffing, and then suddenly pulled the dog away. Went, no. And every pilot bill afterwards was fascinating for this dog.
Yeah.
Because now your dog's going, why?
Created that desire for it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you just sort of let them have a quick sniff, all they're doing is getting information, and then they're walking on.
Unless it's cat poo, in which case they're having a snack.
Or
There
fox
is
poo.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, fox.
Rabbit raisins, deer raisins, sheep raisins.
We get hedgehog niblets as well around our way.
Oh, do you? Oh, okay. Yeah, we get a little bit of that here, and fox is, we get a bit of that too. But yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, like you were talking about loose lead walking earlier. It's something that I've never really taught my own dogs to do, because my first port of call is always going to be recall. If I've got good recall, they haven't got me in the lead. If they haven't got me in the lead, what's the point in teaching loose lead walking? You know. But inadvertently, I've kind of done what you're suggesting people do by not making a big deal out of loose lead walking, and it's nicer because of it. So I think I've done the right thing, just inadvertently, and you've just phrased it a lot better than I did.
No, and also I think if you're telling the dog constantly, no, don't sniff this, don't sniff that, don't do this, don't do that, you're creating that desire for that thing. If they want to go and sniff every single blade of grass, let them do it, because next time you walk past there, they've already done it. They don't need to pull to get to that thing, and then it slows down some of that pulling. And dogs are always going to pull a little bit. I mean, there's always going to be things that they want to go and look at, but rather than making them stand beside you and making their walks very, very boring and lots of pavement pounding, just add an extra meter on your lead. It's not hard, and then they're not pulling you to get to the next sniff.
I try and make the analogy of those sort of things as working in a fish and chip shop. For the first couple of weeks, you're gorging on chips, but then pretty soon you go, oh, it's chips. And that's a similar kind of thing, because if it's freely available to you, you can't lose interest. It's not as valuable anymore. It's always there. So
that's one of the ways that web walking works, actually, as well. With our dogs that are a little bit nervous or a little bit anxious or get hyper aroused on the way out, we teach them to walk backwards and forwards up and down the garden path, and then backwards and forwards along the path outside, and then backwards and forwards. Because the first time they go out, scrabbling to get wherever it is they're going, and the second time it's not that exciting, but they're still pulling a little bit. The third time they're walking quite nicely, and you practice that 4 or 5, 6 times. They're practicing that loose lead walking. They're practicing being calmer out there more than they are every time they go out. They're excited, and just it's like like you say, the more it's like, exactly your analogy with the chips. If you have it every day and it's constant, you soon, stop craving chips. You soon stop craving pulling to get to the next smells.
Which is also why you shouldn't have just one dog treat, because it gets boring. And would you agree that, I mean, I always kind of, with the loose lead thing with clients, I'll always say to them, please don't try and do this when you're going for a walk. Do it every other time, but not when your brain says must get out, must get round, must get back for neighbours, or whatever the show is nowadays. People watch Neighbours. Watch where they came
Where did that come from?
I think I was going to say EastEnders, and it didn't come out.
We're learning very much about Mark's viewing habits, I fear.
Aren't we just?
I've not seen those for years. No, but I mean, it's
on preview now.
If you try and do it when you're busy, it's not going to work, is it? You've got to do it when you're not busy.
Yeah, you have to be in the right mindset. And I mean, another thing is dogs, they need exercise every day. They need physical exercise every day, mental exercise, but it doesn't always have to be a walk. So you can get all that physical exercise out in the back garden or on a hired field or something like that, where they don't have to be on a line, on a lead. And then you can do the loose lead walking with them, the web walking, and practice your cues and do whatever else you need to do when they're already down a little bit in energy, And then you can go out for like 5-10 minutes and come back in when you're winning. You don't feel that pressure to go for an hour's walk at the same time,
That's another, I'm probably going to freeze halfway through this. That's another thing we find a lot of the time, is that people feel they have to exercise the dog X amount per day, and then it becomes a norm for the dog. So they do it a bit more, and then they do it, and they've built an athlete. Something happens to you, that athlete, you won't be able to handle it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so that's
Absolutely.
another thing. That's what I love about the book, is that you go into all the breakdown of not only physical, but you need mental enrichment, you need
Mhm.
different types of stimulation
Yes,
that
absolutely.
doesn't depend on or rely on tiring the dog, because a tired dog is not necessarily a happy dog.
No,
It's
a
as
tired
simple
dog
as
is a
that.
tired dog. That's
Yeah,
literally it.
exactly.
Hmm. So you can have a
Um,
tired worried dog, you can have a tired anxious dog, you can have a tired dog that's in pain and probably in more pain because they're now tired as well, you know, or you can get to the root of what's causing the problem. You know, and you don't have to have a tired dog, you don't have to exhaust them in order to find out what's going on with them and to help their behavior.
Mine went into a food coma earlier because they got fresh green lip mussels on their licky mats. So after an hour of licking with the Jeffy will slowly lick with his eyes closed and savor it, whereas the other fella just almost inhales the entire rubber mat as well. But yeah, the two of them went into a bit of a food coma afterwards. They were very, very content. Um, but speaking about contentment and relaxation and everything like that, what hints and tips do you have for the general public who have either gotten a dog coming up to Christmas, or getting a dog over the Christmas, um, or have a dog and it's going to be their first Christmas? What hints and tips, other than keep them away from poinsettias, pine needles, pine tree? Other than
Okay.
that, but how do you keep the dog? What would you say for them to do now to help keep the dog calm and
Well,
relaxed
firstly,
and
one of
be
the
part
things
of the family?
I do say is if you're going to have decorations and stuff in your house, have a couple of rooms that don't have anything, that just look exactly the same as they normally do, and keep those rooms quite nice and quiet so the dog's got a place to go back to that's got some resemblance of normality. There's not like flashing lights and elves on shelves and children running around, and you know, they need a place where they can just go and breathe. If they're going to go for walks and things like that, try and stick to calmer places, more quiet places, so they can, you know, just relax and chill out a little bit. I mean, I've always trained crates up to be, if the dog's in the crate, you don't talk to them. So we have open door crates, so they don't get sealed shut in there or anything like that. But what we do is we teach people that that's the dog's sanctuary. It's like a teenager's bedroom. You don't want to know what goes on in there. You know, you don't even look. Right.
No,
So
you
the
really
dog can
don't
go
know.
in there and they can just relax and they can calm down and they can have a little bit of space. And, you know, especially if there's a lot going on, that's actually really quite important. Um, there's a video on my website, www.locksdogs.co.uk, all about things to avoid giving your dogs at Christmas. So that'd be things like onions, raisins, grapes, you know, mincemeat pie filling, you know, all sorts of different things, cooked bones, all the lot, chocolate the lot. So there's a video that explains all those sort of things on there. So go and have a look at that.
And salto
Um,
decorations and tinsel,
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah,
big
absolutely. I
time,
mean,
especially
and
the
also
salto.
things like puppies and stuff. Keep an eye on them near wires because all the little fairy lights and things like that, they all get plugged in somewhere, and there's still electric running through those. And you might just forget that your dog actually might go and chew them.
And
We've actually
if you have a
ended up putting
tree,
our kitten in the kitchen at night because he is at a chewing stage. So rather than chance it, or you know, we literally just manage the problem by popping him away. But if you make sure you turn all your switches off and things like that, if possible,
yeah.
as well, so that the dogs don't have any accidents, you know, that way.
And if you
Um,
have a little potted tree that you have a little plate under it because you're watering it, don't let the dog near the water. The pine
yeah,
water is poisonous. You know,
yeah,
it's those little things that people don't think of.
hmm
It's things
absolutely.
like the slow cookers as well.
Hmm.
A lot of people
Yeah,
use, you know, that little pot on the worktop with plugged into the side there smells great.
it
You
Yeah.
know,
does. Yeah.
dogs up there and chewing stuff. Well, again, it's lots of little things that we take for granted, isn't it? I suppose. And
Mm.
would you then go down the route? I mean, you mentioned the crate there. Would you go down the route of teaching the dog how to relax on their own and just settle on their
Yeah,
own?
absolutely. I mean, I find actually having, especially with anxious dogs, having a crate is a way for them to say no, and they quickly cotton on to that as well. And like, like I say, it becomes their sanctuary. mean, when Moo was alive, he absolutely, because he had long fur, he used to get matted quite a lot, and he absolutely hated being brushed. And like, he would let you do it, but you know, it wasn't his favourite thing. And if he saw you pick the brush up, he would go straight into his crate, and he would sit there and look at you through the bars until you put it away again. You know, and that was his way of saying no. And eventually, sooner or later, he would come out once he'd decided, you know, that he was going to let you do it. But letting him have that opportunity rather than just jumping on him with the brush really, really helped him to overcome his anxieties around the brush and around the combs and things. And I think having training the crate up to be like an open door sanctuary means the dog can pop in and keep an eye on what's going on around them, and then come out when they're ready to. So rather than surprising them with somebody dressed up as Father Christmas coming through the door with big sack of presents and, you know, Christmas trees and elves and everything else, like, you know, the dog can just see that from the sanctity of their crate and decide whether or not they want to come out and interact with it. You know, and we've all got like old aunties and things that come round and want to stroke your dog. If your dog's in the crate, then they don't, you know, they're not allowed to do that. And that's kind of a clear and visual barrier. And it's works.
And just don't be afraid to say no to the humans.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just whack.
It's an easy way of saying, well, it's a rule. Sorry, it's a rule in our house. If you're in the crate, you're not allowed to. You have to wait till he comes out. You know?
I love baby gates. Neville is kind of noise sensitive, so he's terrified of the crate.
Yeah.
If I put the crate up, Jeffy will drag all his toys in and snuggle up and just hibernate. Neville will go in and play, but if he sees me walk near the door of the crate, it's like, oh, disaster. I mean, no. He suddenly turns into a howler monkey. So.
No, they have to be allowed to join in if it's appropriate and they want to, but they also have to have the ability to take themselves off and have a bit of peace and quiet as well. And I think that's
I love when they get to that age where they've actually copped onto that. That's why we have beds everywhere. All the rooms have beds, and they can pick and choose. They have their toy boxes in each of the rooms. And they can just go off and do their own thing. Now, if they're too quiet for too long, I do get suspicious. But apart from that, in general, they do their own thing because it's their house as much as mine. And now I do have baby gates, and I would be lost without baby gates.
Oh yeah, we have two in ours as well. They're definitely, we have one at the front door, just because our hallway between is like the front door there, and then the living room door is literally there. So if we open one, it goes straight through. So we have a baby gate there, and we have another one in the kitchen, and do you know, we actually use them for the cat as well. It's brilliant because he doesn't jump over them. He's too lazy. So if we want to separate the cat and the dog up, then we'll just pop him in the kitchen. It's brilliant.
Yeah, because workmen, because especially around Christmas time, everybody's getting last minute jobs done in their house. Workmen don't think. They're coming in, they're doing a job, they're getting back out, the door gets left open, dogs go missing. So baby gates are a savior. And the one thing I would ask
especially
people,
the magnetic ones that shut themselves.
Definitely next time anybody's at the vet, just double check your microchip is up to date. And that it's registered to you, because anytime festive season, doors open, dogs, cats, whatever else you have lurking in your home can slip out.
The other thing I would look out for is when you're on walks and things like that, people decorate their gardens, and you have those great big blow-up snowmen and things all sort of blowing about in the garden.
They terrify me.
So I would actually just be letting the dogs have a look before you go past them, rather than taking them straight past and things like that. Just letting them look from a distance, and almost like socializing them with these things. Because,
well, the other thing as well,
so they can look at them from afar and stuff like that, then they're going to find them a lot more a lot less scary than they are if you just kind of trot past them
because
every day.
You have to remember as well, I mean, I don't know what it's like over in the UK, but over here, I mean, this last proportion of the year is terrifying for dogs, because people do the houses up for Halloween, and they start Halloween early. So you have all these skeletons waving in the wind, you have flashy lights, you have things that make noise as you walk by. That, you know, it is like a Michael Jackson video, some of these gardens. They're so well done. They're terrifying. They're brilliant. And that must be very scary for the dogs. And just as they're getting used to that, Halloween's over and suddenly Christmas lights. So the dog is coming down off one, and all of a sudden it's like, whoop, right back up, elevated. And it's...
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like you say, Freya, there's an awful lot of value in just letting the dog, excuse me, observe something, just drink in that environment, work out for themselves that they're actually not in any danger, and it makes it
Yeah.
easier. But that all just ties back in again, which is why your book's so wonderfully flowing. It all ties back into having the choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I'm a great fan of doing things like having picnics on benches and stuff like that, even when it's cold out, because then the dog just gets a chance to sit and look. And especially if you're going somewhere that's quite busy, it's nice to give them a chance to sort of just sit there and take it all in for a few minutes first. And you can sit there and you can practice your cues and you can do whatever you want while they're on the bench. So it's not necessarily all about look at those cars, you know. It's like, you know, they just know those things are going on in the background. And even then, I mean, you can give them the opportunity of like walking which way they want to when you come off the bench. They might want to go towards the thing and they might not want to, you know.
Yeah.
And
Neville
sometimes
is my
utter
bench
silence
buddy.
from the person is a wonderful thing.
Not
Not saying a
absolutely.
thing, you know, and again, going to those environments and giving lots of cues and all the rest of it. It's great if your dog's engaged, but if your dog's a bit worried looking around the place, just being silent, just being there with him.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes I
And
mean
when
we
they
can
check
tell our
in,
dogs
reward
what
them.
to do, but without necessarily helping them feel better about the things. So like
Yeah.
if we like, you know, walk on and we're asking them to sit or asking them to touch or to look at me or something while you're walking past that big fluffy Santa in the front garden, that doesn't necessarily change how the dog feels about that Santa. But if you just let them have 5 minutes to look at it, they might actually go and investigate it. They might choose not to. But at the same time, they're going to learn that actually it doesn't really go anywhere. It's okay. And then you don't have to do all those cues with them. You know, you don't have to boss them about on the way past.
Yeah.
You know, one of the
Yeah.
things that I really hate is when people train robot dogs and then expect those dogs to behave perfectly, but they don't actually consider what the dog's thinking and feeling. And they do think and feel, as we know.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the little fella here on the training walk this morning, he a lot of the times when dogs are walking past, he just wants to sit and look. So there's no point me calling him constantly and trying to give him a treat. He's not interested. So if I just let him look, and he's really interested, you know, those massive great ears prick up, and he's looking around and kind of watching everything. And he does his own thing. If he gets a bit overwhelmed, he walks between my legs. And if he gets really overwhelmed, he wants a cuddle. And then we give him a cuddle, and then he calms down again. Off we go again. It's just, he doesn't need lots and lots of food, which is a nice thing to have. But he does like food a lot.
Yeah.
When I moved, he used to naturally put himself in the middle. So he'd get in between my legs and he'd sit there in the middle and he'd observe the world from there until he was ready to come out again. But with Twyla, she'll do this thing where she'll just plant herself. She'll just lay down in the middle of the path and she'll just lay there and refuse to move. And she does this thing where she makes herself heavy as well. So you can't actually coax her up if you want to. And she'll stay there until she's done watching. And it doesn't matter what's going on. You're not going to move her for love nor money until she's done looking. But once she is done looking, that's it. She's fine, and she'll just walk off like nothing ever happened. You know?
See, what I love about that is that you allow her to do that. So you know, you see a lot of people get frustrated and start dragging the dogs the rest of it. If they just waited, sometimes 30 seconds, they could be off again, and it's done, isn't it?
I used to do that with all the training pups I get for the first. When we take them out to the end of the driveway, I just stand there and let them just observe and see what's changed in the neighborhood, because we're in a cul-de-sac. And some of the neighbors, they might have a for sale sign up. They could have new lights up. They could have Christmas decorations. They could have anything up. So it's nice to get to the end of the driveway, let them have a sniff in the garden, and then have a look around at all the houses, just so they kind of acclimatize. So nothing jumps out or anything. We do have a problem with kind of dogs barking through windows as you walk past. And that's that can be very frustrating and upsetting for the dogs who have to listen to it. It's like you going into a shopping center and every shop you pass by, a security guard comes out and threatens you. You're not going to want to go in there. It's kind of, that's scary. It puts you off going into the shopping center. And that happens an awful lot in housing estates, and people don't realize then by the time they've kind of got to their destination, the dog is already wired to the moon with anxiety. So it's the little things that just let them take it at their pace.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So, Freya, what would you suggest? Obviously, we've got Christmas coming up, and of course, we're going to have also things like crackers and party poppers and all that stuff. And I've seen that new confetti thing that people fire off. Now, of course, a lot of dogs aren't going to like that.
No.
So what would be your tips on helping in those situations?
Just don't do it.
You know, like when we do say like training for fireworks and things like that, so we build up over a period of time desensitizing the dog to different noises and things. If you're going to have those things and you can't avoid them, I mean, you can get crackers without snaps and things now, so you know, and
you can easily open them and take the snap out.
Those are probably much more preferable, but if you are going to have those things, do some desensitization work first. So if every time the dog hears a cracker snap, they get something miraculous, like a bit of steak or something lands on a saucer at the other side of the room, then they're not going to think it's the scary thing that, you know, it could be.
Yeah, so come January, when all these things are next to nothing in the shops because they need to clear the stock, just buy loads and practice throughout the year.
Yeah. Absolutely you can. There's always going to be stock left over, and you know, I mean, we always have the crackers and things on our Christmas trees from the
I actually make little crackers for the dogs.
Probably got hundreds of them in the loft that they just keep shoving up there every year. You know, take those out.
I save up toilet rolls and just fill them with treats, and then just wrap up some wrapping paper, whatever, and the dogs can take them off the tree and pull them.
Is with things like crackers and stuff like that, maybe do them outside first so the dog's not hemmed in the room with them. So because obviously you can't make a cracker quieter, but you can give the dog more space to get away from it. So I would do it outside to teach them that the noise of the cracker means the treats come in, or they're getting the ball thrown, or something good's going to happen. And then, you know, then bring it indoors afterwards, because then the dog's already associated that noise with something nice. It's not going to be so scary when it happens indoors.
And then what about the two probably most exciting things for dogs around Christmas is the actual main meal itself. How do people stop the dog bothering them? And the second part of that is the short people, the young kids that are charging around, screaming, waving their arms, which are super exciting. What about those two scenarios? How can we help them in those scenarios?
So first of all, as I say, I would be training up the crate or the stairgate or somewhere like that, so the dog's got somewhere quiet to go. Also, during dinner, I mean, it really depends if you want the dog in there with you. I mean, our dog comes in and she's in our living room while we're eating. And I mean, it's really bad, but we give her tidbits off the plate. You know, we're not supposed to, but you know, our dog, we do what we like.
It's your dog,
But yeah, I mean, dogs. I mean, unless your dog's kibble fed or on a strict diet, maybe give them a little bit of Christmas dinner. I mean, there's nothing to stop them having some turkey and some carrots and, you know, not the gravy or any onions or stuffing or anything like that, but there's nothing to stop them having a little bit. They don't have to have their entire, or maybe some mixed in with their kibble or something if they have kibble. You know, there's nothing to actually stop them joining in with the Christmas dinner. And especially if your dog's not actually in a routine in the first place, then, you know, their dinner might be 2 o'clock in the afternoon instead of 7 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the morning, you know. So,
or it's Christmas. We all overeat at Christmas. It won't hurt them to have an extra meal.
But I mean,
we just eat our way through the day.
Things that the dogs can't eat, and make sure there's no children slipping them things under the table that they can't eat. You know, so no Christmas
dropping things.
No,
I had that actually.
They're allowed to flip them as many sprouts as they like. Just be warned that your dog's going to smell later. You know, yeah, when it comes to children running around and it all a little bit exciting, I think management is probably the key. So popping them in places, you know, behind stairgates, that sort of thing. So they're not necessarily in the warpath, as it were. And then letting them in again when everything's calmed down. You know, maybe give them a nice little chew or a Kong or something like that to go and lay out in the kitchen with, and just, you know, they can sit there and chill out a little bit until all the manicness has died down, and then come in.
I did find with Christmas as well, with my dad when he was with us, because he had dementia, he adored dogs, and one of mine knew that, and he knew who was most likely to drop food. So he'd lie under the table and he'd be the full length of the table pointed at my dad's feet, waiting for stuff to drop. And of course, Dad, being such a softie who absolutely adored this dog, would be trying to slip like a leg of turkey or something. It was, but it's Christmas. So if you have somebody in the household who is not doing too well, just keep an eye on them and give them, just have a little plate put by for the dog that they can actually give bits off to the dog, because it gives them the choice to feed the dog. It makes them feel happy. The dogs love it, and it's safe, and then you don't have to be watching them like a hawk, and everybody can enjoy the meal and enjoy the family.
I think another important thing actually is we talk about managing the dog around all the manic children. But we also have to talk about telling the children how to behave around the dog.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that a lot of the time we miss out. We expect the dog to behave, but we don't necessarily expect the children to behave. And I think we probably have to reinforce that on, that don't do this around the dog, don't do that around the dog. Just consider that the dog might be getting a bit excited. He's not allowed to eat this, and just calm it down a little bit. So so they're not doing things that are going to necessarily upset the dog in any way, because children, they are crazy. Let's face it. So, but the thing is, they do speak English, so it might be a little bit easier just to to tell them as well. Just
And the excitement level on Christmas Day is something else. They're hyped up in numbers and sugar and everything. So getting through to them doesn't, but get them into a routine, non-routine early.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm from Doggone Safe. Both of you are Kids Around Dogs. So we're going to put those links up as well for anybody interested in learning more about how to communicate with children around dogs. So that's another one that's going to go up. So.
And maybe just train the children.
Yeah. That's a brilliant idea, actually.
So much easier.
Nice harness, long line, we're sorted.
You can get those big hamster water bottles that you can just poke through. They'll be fine. Absolutely fine. Yeah. So before we say goodbye, because we've gone over again because we can't help ourselves. Just remind us again where people can get your book and the details of your website.
So I have two websites. I have www.locksdogs.co.uk, and that is for my one-to-one business for people in and around Newmarket, Suffolk. We do Zoom sessions as well if anybody needs any help and they're a bit further afield. And my online school, where we have the Fun Not Fear Club, where we have weekly meetings, we have all our ebooks and videos and all that kind of thing. That is www.funnotfear.co.uk. And my book, The Fun Not Fear Club, is available on Amazon, on Kindle, paperback and hardback, and makes a very, very good Christmas present.
It does indeed.
And where you want your copy.
I'll just hold up the contents pages.
Well, we try to cover as much stuff as possible, from behaviour to basic training to what to do in various scenarios, to feeding, to all sorts of different things.
I'm going to do a really, really quick rundown before we go, just in case anybody is in doubt. Don't be in doubt on this book. We have what is Fun Not Fear and how does it work? What are the standards? How the club has started? Being an alpha, not near Nelly. There's a list of the good organisations to look out for. There's a section on body language, the ladder of communication, being considerate, making choices, doing routines, having relaxation, and the pajama method. See, for that alone, you have to buy the book to find out what the pajama method is, because we're not going to tell you. See, there's sleeping, feeding. What else have we got? My goodness, we have all nutrition. We have the 80-10-10 method. We have easy wins, basic cues, enrichment, games, exercise. I'm just going to do the main chapters. I'm not even going to go into everything else. Days out and holidays. Actually, this is really good because it does deal with private secure dog fields, cafes, dog-friendly places, forest camp, hot weather, signs of heat exhaustion, cold weather, and what to do, and of course antifreeze. The antifreeze is just lethal. Christmas shopping, parties, Halloween, vets, healthcare. Then struggles and solutions. We have noise phobia. We have separation anxiety, meeting new people, dogs that bark, how to zoomies, resource guarding. And my God, the list goes on. It goes on and on and on. So, yeah, so I mean, you get all that in a book that's not huge.
Yeah,
it really isn't.
Easy and accessible for people as possible as well, so that the information in it isn't difficult to absorb.
I've got to ask you, did you write the book and then come up with the contents list, or did you have the contents list and then write the book based on that?
It was kind of a little bit of both, actually. I started off with a contents list of the things I wanted to cover, and it kind of evolved as I went along. So, and also I didn't write it all in order either. So I wrote some bits before I wrote other bits, and then sort of then I might have picked a different thing completely on another day. I just wrote about what I felt like writing about on each particular day, because I thought that, you know, if I started to get bored writing along in order, then I thought that would probably show. So I decided just to pick out the bits that I thought was interesting. And like I say, it kind of evolved as it went along. And you know what it's like. As soon as you start writing something, you then realise that you've forgotten to write about something else. So that goes on the list as well. You know, there's always going to be someone that goes, oh, but what about so and so, so and so? And then that'll be the next thing that goes in the next edition. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
The new revised edition. So listen, thank you so much, Freya. Congratulations again on your first book.
Oh, thank you for having me.
That's a huge achievement, and after reading it and going through it and seeing the build up to it, I'm just so excited to see that book out there for everybody.
Thank you so much.
It's something vets should stock. Everybody should just get their clients to stock it. It's fabulous. Just give it to their clients. It's brilliant because it is in simple English.
They can read it on Kindle Unlimited as well for free if they wanted to, if they have a subscription with Amazon. So
you don't be saying that. You're doing yourself out of pocket.
No. So you get royalties for that. So yeah, it does mean it's more accessible for other people as well. You know, so if they don't necessarily have the money there to buy the Kindle copy, they can read it on that instead. So there's more about
that is so important. Just making proper good education available to people who necessarily or normally wouldn't have the option or wouldn't even think of looking somewhere for something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, listen, happy festivities to you and Twyla and Peter and the kids and the cat. You have a cat, don't you? You have a cat. The cat that does not jump over stairgates. Yeah, I had a cat that would, instead of jumping over, he'd jump at. And if he cleared it, great. If not, he'd just be like that and he'd slide down. So it was like, yeah. I think we've all got one of those in our lifetime. But anyway, so listen, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Stay tuned because we will have a series of these talks throughout the week in the run-up to Christmas. And all the details of everybody's pages, links, books, and whatever we've spoken about will be added in the comments underneath. And if you want to get in touch with any of our guests, they are all either Into Dogs Committee, ex-committee patrons, or full members. So we're staying in-house this year because we have some of the most amazing members ever. And we just want to highlight all you guys. So thanks again, Freya. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Good night, everybody.